Central Minnesota Sports Hub. It's the Morning Sports Desk, presented by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and streaming on YouTube.
Powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena, this is the Morning Sports Desk. I'm CJ Baumgartner, joined by Corey Tackman. And Corey, we got a special guest on the program today on our Activities Director interviews that we do every Monday. Why don't you introduce our guest?
Staples-Motley AD Paige Ahrendt. Paige, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me.
There's so much that we can talk about to get this season started. With a huge game on Friday, why don't we just start there? Let's talk about this Staples-Motley football team and where they're at. What a start to this year.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the elephant in the room for sure. I think everybody I've ran into from all walks of all communities has asked me if I'm ready for the game on Friday. And my answer is I hope so. We've done some work ahead of time, months in advance. I mean, I knew from the day I took this job, this was the game everybody was talking about. We're looking at what preparations we need to do to make sure we're getting fans in the door and we're giving everybody a good experience. So I'm really excited to see our team just go out there and perform. My best hope for them is that they can just take everything that they've done up to that point. I mean, you go to practice every day. You've played 6 games at this point. You've done the work. Now all that's left to do on Friday is to just go out there and perform. So I hope they're just out there having fun. They know what's at stake, but they don't forget why they're playing the game of football and that they can just go out there, perform, and just trust all the preparation that they've had so far.
And now leading into another huge game coming up Friday night, hosting the Pillager Huskies. I mean, it feels like every week has been the biggest game in Staples-Motley Cardinal history for football. Just what's it like, and what do you think that experience is going to be like in Staples come Friday night?
I think it's going to be packed, to say the least. I've heard last year it was packed. Obviously, I wasn't here for that. I think somebody said over 1,000 people. I think this year is going to be bigger than that. We're later in the season this year than they were last year at the face-off. More is at stake. I think everybody kind of knows what we're playing for here. So I think it's going to be bigger and better than last year even was, as much hyped up as I've heard that one was. So just looking to create a good atmosphere for everybody. And right now, knock on wood, the weather does look pretty good as well. I mean, perfect football weather if you could ask for it.
Yeah, it's really going to be sweet. It was an awesome game a year ago, and like you mentioned, both teams right now, QRF, they're tied for second. I want to digress here just a moment because you mentioned it. This is year number 1 for you. Here we are, a little over a month into the school year in your year number 1. What's the process been like stepping into this new slot?
So I'm coming up about a week from now will be 4 months on the job, and I can definitely see how the seasons kind of impact me. It's started in June, get through summer, starting to feel comfortable, bang, fall sports start. It's like starting over again, and I have to learn everything new again. And I'm getting comfortable with fall sports. I'm starting to catch my stride a little bit, and a few weeks from now, bang, I'm going to be starting from ground zero again, trying to learn winter sports and all the different activities that take place in the winter and get them up and going, get a few of those games under my belt before I'm going to be able to get comfortable there again. So honestly, this whole first year is just going to be a cycle of getting to know something new. And that's my running joke with everybody is I can't wait to get the first year under my belt, and maybe next year I'll know what I'm doing.
And Paige, just tell us a little bit too. Tell us about your background. Tell us where you came from, and tell us why you want to be an AD, and tell us why Staples-Motley is the fit for you.
Background. So I've always been from Minnesota. I'm from Pipestone, Minnesota originally, born and raised there my whole life. Always involved in activities. I was like a summer youth sports assistant director all through high school as my summer job. Played tennis, some basketball, softball. After high school, I went to SMSU in Marshall. There I played softball collegiately, and I also got my degree in sports management. I also have about 3/4 of a PE teaching degree, and my junior year, I decided to make the switch to sports management, and that has kind of guided my professional career since then. Coming out of college, I landed a graduate assistantship at Louisiana State University. So I lived in Baton Rouge for the last year of my life, and everything there is completely different than what it is here. I knew when I moved there that I liked Minnesota, and I would say that moving there, I realized I loved Minnesota. I am so excited for this cold weather. The last winter of my life only got to about 60 degrees. It did snow there actually while I lived there. It snowed one day, and they said that's the most snow they've ever had in more than 100 years.
Wow.
They've maybe had snow there twice in the last 20 years. So they all say it was my fault, that I'm the reason it snowed because I brought it with me.
Paige, I'll sympathize with you there. We were in Destin during that snow. We were in Destin, Florida. Yeah, it was. Yes. Yeah, it was like 130 years snow. So yeah. I'm just here to split the blame with you because we took all the blame in that part of Florida for this.
Oh, that's awesome! I'm so happy to hear somebody else from up here was there for that. It was so cool to see everybody outside, like just freaking out. Like they were getting whatever they could think of to like sled down hills, like garbage can lids, tables, whatever they could find. It was super cool to see that from my perspective. So while I was there, I was doing operations and event management for LSU athletics. So the best way to explain that is how I tell people I was basically a wedding planner for sports. And I just helped with all those details, helped all of our events run well. And I did that while I was getting my master's there. I got half of my master's completed. And in April, a family friend just kind of presented an opportunity to me about this job, shared it with me. And I remember reading the description and I was like, wow, like that just fits everything I'm looking for. I really felt the push to get back to the high school setting because at the college setting, I was just feeling a little bit of a disconnect of like being with people and having an impact on people. And I felt like coming to high school athletics was a spot where I would really have a good opportunity to make those connections, make those impacts, and just kind of get to be a little more personal with the people that I was working with. So that's what brought me back up here, and I absolutely love it. I also, like to tell people all the time, there's a lot more to do here, and it's a lot prettier than Pipestone. I hope they're not listening to me, but I still love it. I still love Pipestone, but as far as being outdoorsy and stuff, there's a bit more to do up here than there is down there.
You mentioned you were a tennis player. So
Corey, your mic might have cut out during that last question. Go. But I think he was getting to talking to the tennis background and things like that. And, obviously Staples-Motley having a really, really good girls tennis program. What can you talk about there?
Absolutely. So they're actually heading to sections already this week, which, like I said, fall goes by in a flash. They start section play on Thursday. We are the number 1 seed in section for team, which is amazing. I mean, to watch these girls all year, they've done nothing but have fun and go out and compete, and that's been great. We had some really competitive matches last week at home, which is a great way to cap off right before heading to postseason. And looking for a great start as they're headed to Fargo on Thursday. They start team. They do that Thursday and Friday morning, and then individuals start Friday afternoon and Saturday. I told them as soon as I heard that, I cannot believe how much tennis they play in 3 days. Take some stamina. That's different than the day that I was in there, or the day back in the day when I was in there. It's just been fun to watch. It's good tennis, and I'm excited to go support them and continue watching them. So hopefully they finish the season as strong as they've progressed throughout.
Yeah, and that Staples-Motley girls tennis program has been really, really good for a really, really long time. And a lot of really great tennis players come through there. I know Naska was somebody who had recently had a really good success. What's it like to see that competitiveness and get to see that program kind of in your first fall?
I mean, I think a lot of people would tell me I have it pretty easy my first year as an AD when it comes to having competitive teams. Overall, we're just really solid and we're competing, and you can't ask for more than that. I tell the players when I get the chance to that, I don't care what the score says. If you guys are going out there and first of all, having fun, second of all, you're giving your all. As long as you are doing everything you can do and you're having fun, I cannot, and nobody else can ask for any more than that. That was actually a quote from legendary coach Skip Bertman at LSU. He always said, like, all you can do is all you can do. And I remember hearing that, and I've kind of taken that with me. And that's all I ask is, if you're doing all you can do, it's all you can do, and the outcome will determine itself. So they're competitive, they're doing well, they practice hard, they play hard, and I'm really excited to see that pay off for them in the postseason.
All right, let's see if this works now. And
You're on.
Let's move over to the volleyball program. Just a couple weeks left there in their regular season. Tell us about Staples-Motley volleyball.
Yeah, so our volleyball program, I was just doing the math this morning, and we host Pelican Rapids here on Thursday, and next week, Tuesday, that's our last home game, and goes by in a flash. Volleyball team, they've had a tough season in the wins and loss column. It was kind of a surprise to a lot of people, I think. But again, like having conversations with those coaches and with those girls, they've grown this season. You compare the first game to the games we've had recently, and you can see the improvements. Our home game versus Pillager, that was amazing. The girls fought so hard. I mean, every ball they dove for, they wound up getting back over the net, and that resulted in points in our favor. But going back to my earlier conversation, even if we would have lost that game, I mean, just to see them play with so much passion and having fun and laughing on the court is what I want to see. So definitely, not necessarily what we expected, wins, loss, but on top of that, they've grown more as leaders from the beginning of the season to where we're at now. They're laughing more on the court now than they were in the beginning. And I think, you take a lot of life lessons away from that too. That was something I always said coming into sports, is they're just such a good vessel to learn how to be a good human being, not just a good athlete. And I think it's really important that we're doing the little things right. We're helping to make good people, and just using sports as life lessons to help develop those good habits.
And, you've had obviously some initial conversations now, a season here, talking with Coach Gretchen Bestland and company. And what's it like seeing that staff and seeing them just kind of develop again, like you said, kind of getting that, let them having fun out there?
Yeah, absolutely. Gretchen is all about, team culture. We are a team first, all of that mentality. So it's been fun to just talk to her, get her perspective on things. She's really good about doing lessons or speakers with the players to help teach them those other parts of it, of how to be a good teammate, how to make a good culture. And they've been doing this for 10 years. So I think they kind of have a good grasp at what they're doing. And they've seen a lot of different teams, and, there's ups, there's downs, but they always find a way to get something out of it. Gretchen is great to talk to. She's always asking for feedback and, answering all the questions I have. I like to joke with everybody, I have tons of questions. She's made my life as an AD easy, as she handles a lot of things, goes above and beyond, and is always asking for feedback of what can be better.
Paige, you mentioned being very lucky in this first year to have some pretty unbelievable sports. The football team ranked very highly in the state, the tennis team, and the history there. But maybe the most lauded program is that running program. Audrey Brownell is just beating the doors off everybody again. And she's just one of many runners that Staples-Motley has. Where are the Cardinals at? What's Audrey's expectations? Are there expectations in the school for that running program? What's their upcoming calendar look like?
Yeah. So again, not just lucky because of our programs, but because of a lot of the coaches we have in place already. Our cross country coach has been doing this for a long time, and he's been a huge help to me as I'm coming in and I'm learning everything. And I ask him questions all the time too, to, kind of just learn more about cross country. Obviously, I was a tennis athlete myself, so I wasn't super familiar with it before coming into this role. And I remember going to our home meet that we had back in August, and wow, just the passion that those fans have, that the runners have, that was just such a cool event to be a part of. So I've really gained a lot of respect for cross country. Looking at our season this far, Bruce tells me we're really young. We have a very young team. We're a little smaller for numbers than we normally are. So we've had some battles, we've been challenged, we've been tested, and, we're probably not falling as high in team rankings as we normally do. So, but as Bruce says, we're also training really well and doing, we're progressing towards getting better. When you're young and you're making progress, as long as you continue that progress, you're still going to end up with a really positive result someday. Obviously on the individual side, we have Audrey, everybody knows about her. And I think one thing I want to, express about her and hope that everybody knows about her is she is just as good of a person as she is a runner. She was one of the first athletes I had a real sit down, personal conversation with. She came into my office the second week I was here, and thanked me and everybody here for the work we're doing for the cross country program. And I thought that was awesome. Suhaila came with her as well. So we just have some really good personalities on that team. Just like I was saying earlier, these runners are not just great at running, but they're also turning into really great people. So all good things to say about Audrey, and I really hope she continues to have fun running and, pursue these last few meets we have of her high school career, and hopefully she gets the opportunity to pursue something afterwards as well.
That's really, really cool story. Awesome to hear. Paige, anything else going on at Staples-Motley that you want to let us know about with the activities department, things going on? What do we need to know?
Yeah, so, really, I think I've really taken a seat here, and as much as I have to do, I'm trying to observe just as much as well and kind of soak it in and see what I'm able to make happen next year. I'm also community ed director, so working on a lot of new programs has kind of been the focus of that, and we've been able to get bringing it back to the athletic side of things. Like we just talked about cross country, we were able to put together like a youth running program this year for the first time, and just looking at different opportunities like that of how can we continue to, just give these opportunities for kids who want to keep it going. We also were able to get a community ed programmer in here to help me, Zach Quall, our head basketball coach. He's filling that role. So he's done a phenomenal job just helping us expand these programs and expand opportunities. Looking ahead at some other activities later this fall, winter, as we kind of transition. I know we have a madrigal this year. We're bringing that back. That's something that hasn't been done here in a long time. And I know that has really rich history. So I think the community will be excited to have the chance to come back to that again, as well as a fall play at the end of November too. So getting into some more of those indoor activities. And I think I'm really going to be tested, have a challenge as I'm working all these things inside now, just with the changes going on, and can't play outside forever, unfortunately. So I was just looking at that this morning, trying to get some more junior high basketball games. I was like, yeah, I know we need some. And I was looking at my calendar. I'm like, I don't know where I'm going to fit them, but I know we need some. So yeah, there's just a lot of great stuff going on around here. Everybody's been so welcoming to me and so kind to me. And I was just telling my boyfriend the other day, I think it is crazy to look at the last 12 months of my life and think about how many people I have met, and hope that I remember everybody I have met, all the way from Baton Rouge, learning everybody's name there. And now just coming into a new community and hoping everybody is patient with me as I'm learning. And I promise I'm trying my best to make everything as perfect as it can be, and just really make Staples-Motley Athletics a proud thing to be a part of.
Staples-Motley Activities Director Paige Ahrendt joining us here on the Morning Sports Desk. Paige, did great in your Morning Sports Desk debut. Great to chat with you. Great to have you on the program. And hey, when those winter sports roll around and you're trying to figure things out, we'll bug you again and have you come talk about it.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Want to once again thank Staples-Motley Activities Director Paige Ahrendt for joining us here on the Morning Sports Desk. Always fun to get to chat with the ADs and the newest one in the area. So always fun to get to meet them and bring new people onto the podcast. And we'll have some clips kind of throughout the week coming up on Sports Cow on Facebook as well. Corey, this podcast proudly presented by the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. What do we got to talk about them? What's going on? What do we need to know?
It's their newest pizza. We've talked about it before. It's called the Big Popper. Cream cheese, sweet pepperdew peppers, Italian sausage, jalapenos, and a honey hot sauce drizzle. It's a little sweet with a little heat, and it is a whole lot of flavor. And it's available for you at the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. Stop in for your meal. Head on over to the FunZone Arcade for a little fun. I will tell you the sweet spot in our house is you do the FunZone first. You max out the card to whatever limit you want to limit your children to. And then you say, oh, shoot, we're out of money. And now let's go over and let's have a little lunch, or let's have a little supper, or let's have a little meal together. Because if you do the meal first and then the arcade, they're going to want to skip out of the meal to be like, can we go play yet? Can we go play? Can we go? But if you max out that card, your FunZone rewards card, you're like, well, we got what we got. Everybody, let's go pick out some Laffy Taffy, and then we'll go eat our supper. What do you think about that? That's the way to do it. That's the Tackman family secret recipe to enjoying your time at the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena, the bringer of the morning sports desk. Is that how we say that, CJ? The bringer of?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
They're also the bringer of great pizza and fun arcade games. So
like the Big Popper.
The Big Popper Pizza. Morning Sports Desk proudly presented by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. At least we hope. All right, Corey, Minnesota Vikings get a big win over the weekend. It was a little close, not going to lie. Vikings got a 21-17 victory over Cleveland, but hey, they beat the over, which was good. So it was good for the Vikings to get a win. They get to 3-2. It doesn't really matter how they got it. Thought all things considered, when their backs were against the wall, and like if they go to 2-3, not that your season's over, but like you have to have a winning record at minimum throughout the final, 12 games to be any sort of relevant in the playoff picture. Now, if you go 6-6 and you go 9-8, you're in it on the final week of the season. But to all that, their backs were against the wall. They had multiple offensive linemen out. You're starting a backup quarterback, and they came in with the right game plan. KOC, for the most part, pushed all the right buttons. Carson Wentz played mistake-free football, and the Minnesota Vikings were able to come away with a victory on a last-second touchdown pass by Carson Wentz, Jordan Addison. The Vikings defense hangs tough at the end to force a stop as time expires. And your Minnesota Vikings are 3-2 going into the bye week. Corey, just kind of spew your thoughts out here. What are you thinking?
There were a few things. First of all, like it wasn't a beautiful game by any means.
No.
I thought all things considered, and especially coming out of this trip, being in Europe for 2 straight weeks, on top of all of the other things that are kind of going wrong for the Vikings, to come out of that 2-week stretch 1-1 feels like feels more important than just being 1-1. Like I think that was really huge. I thought the offensive line protected Carson Wentz as best they could, all things considered. I thought the defensive line played pretty good football. I'm starting to like some of these guys. There's that 3-namer who's up front who's really
Levi
fun.
Drake Rodriguez.
Yeah. He's really fun.
Jalen Redmond batted a ball down.
Yeah, like they played as good of a football game as can be expected, considering what they're up against just internally. Not to mention the fact that Jordan Addison was benched for the first quarter or first 15 plays or whatever it was, because he decided he needed to miss a walkthrough. Not to mention that Carson Wentz is a backup and has shown that he is earned that backup contract.
By the way, 2-1 in the 3 games Carson Wentz has played, which is really all you can expect out of a backup.
Which is good. I don't like this. This Vikings team is not scary right now. They're not like people are not afraid of this Vikings team. I thought that Gabriel kid for Cleveland was nice. He did enough things to show why he was chosen as their starter. I don't know. It's like, I understand this. Like I'm just kind of rambling here, but like that was a nice professional, all things considered win for the Vikings.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the offensive line play, I mean, Blake Brandel never played a game, maybe in high school he did, but never in his life played a game at center. And there was maybe like one snap that was kind of weird that Carson Wentz just grabbed and was able to handle, but that's not easy to be a center, never play center before and have to be center in an NFL game overseas against the best pass rush in the NFL in the Cleveland Browns. And they handled things for the most part. Christian Darrisaw went out in the 4th quarter because he kind of reached the snap count and basically kind of told KOC, like, I'm gas right. Like, I can't. Like, we're just going to need to rest me for the rest of the game. And so you have Justin School, who is a left tackle, prepared that way, and then had to be a right tackle last minute, and then had to go back in at left tackle at the end of the game. And Blake Brandel, again, coming into play center, did a really good job. Joe Huber, although had a bad penalty at the end, still kind of was able to keep things rolling just enough. And you kind of had to hang on for dear life and win this game, and they did. And now you hope that you can get Brian O'Neill back. You'll hopefully get Donovan Jackson, your guard, back coming out of the bye week. We talked about this last week, never has this team been so excited for a week 6 bye. just to kind of get healthy, lick some wounds, and JJ McCarthy and all that kind of stuff we'll talk about later in the week with the quarterback. That's not really relevant in this particular thing, but I thought too, what made it easy is the broadcast talked about the Browns, and I can't remember who was doing the color commentary. Was it Vilma? Was it?
Yeah. It was Vilma.
The one smart thing I've seen Jonathan Vilma ever say on camera is when he talked about the Cleveland Browns and that their defense is tough. They are physical. They are talented, but they don't do a lot of like pre-snap deception like Brian Flores does. They're pretty much straight up and play you. And that made it a lot easier on a center playing his first ever game at center and a backup quarterback and a makeshift offensive line to be able to communicate things pre-snap, because there's not a lot of confusion of like, that guy came in, but now he backed out. And this guy backed out, but now he's coming in. And it kind of allowed the Vikings to get set. And I thought KOC did a really good job just in the game plan of, you talked about the offensive line playing well. And the part of that helps is when the quarterback got the ball out quick. It was a lot of quick passes. It was a lot of like Jefferson's going to go in motion, go into the backfield, and then go out again. And there was just a lot of things that the Vikings did to try and make things as simple as possible, knowing all they kind of had to. And they did it, and they were able to get the win, and now they move on. The one thing I think we should talk about, Corey, is Jordan Addison. You mentioned it, missed the first quarter of the game. He was dressed, but he was suspended by the team because he skipped a walkthrough in London to like find himself or something like that. And the team said all the things that they can say to be politically correct of like, we had to do this, but he's really important. And by the way, he caught a game-winning touchdown pass. Justin Jefferson said, I need to do a better job of taking him under my wing and letting him know that we can't be doing this and stuff like that. But Jordan Addison's really talented, and it's why the Vikings only suspended him a quarter. But he missed the first 3 games of the season, which would have been helpful to have him with JJ McCarthy. You also just, he had the issue with him speeding the other time before, and Jordan Addison's too good of a receiver to not play. But this is stuff, I know people are like, well, trade him. You're not going to trade him in the middle of the season, nor should you. But this is when the Vikings are trying to consider, do you give Jordan Addison an extension coming into the next couple of years? These are things that'll make a franchise go, because this guy's going to make a lot of money in his next contract. He will. But if you're the Vikings, do you want to be the team to give him that money if he can do things like this?
Yeah, he is. He's showing now repeated instances of not very good decision-making. And again, the team handled it well. It sounded like he handled it as best he could. He elected to address the team and kind of acknowledge it. And, it's one of those like locker rooms are always like, it's our locker room. It's a sacred space. We got our guys back because he has our back. It's one of those like it's hard for me to necessarily comment from the outside looking in on how that sort of impacts the team. They definitely are going to feel let down by him not being there, but also they're going to be there to pick him up. I don't want to use too many cliches, but we hear them all, and they seem to be true coming out of a football locker room. But yeah, he's really important and he's really good. And it's going to be. It's like the Byron Buxton thing, right? Like, how much do you pay him? The guy's hurt all the time. You have to find this middle ground. And the middle ground is going to offend him. The middle ground is going to offend Addison. And somebody is going to offer him more than the middle ground. And that's
he'd be a wide receiver 1 on a ton of teams. And a ton of teams will pay him like a wide receiver 1. Yep.
And he's really good at football. So I don't know. It's just all is you just wish you'd screw it on a little tighter. Just screw it on a little tighter. Because you can clearly play football and you're clearly important. But like these guys who can't keep it together personally, when it ends in a pretty catastrophic flame out. Like it will be he's not getting the play. And then it's going to take it personally. And then he's going to go somewhere else in a fit. And then it's just going to be weird there because he's going to feel defiant. Like this never ends on other than Terrell Owens, who is a world-class guy. It never ends well. These guys just disappear off the face of the earth. And I hope that doesn't happen for Addison because he's pretty good.
He's really good. And the Vikings, whether they want to keep him or not, might not be able to afford to. He also might want to go somewhere and be wide receiver 1, whatever. But he is in year 3 of a 5-year contract. So they're not going to trade Jordan Addison. I think this team has been, when it comes to him in his rookie year having an incident, the team didn't really at least out externally do anything. And then he got the thing last year and kind of waited on the league to give him a suspension and things like that. It feels like the Vikings, unless something gets very wrong, are going to still hang on to Addison. And they shouldn't trade Jordan Addison unless they feel like things are like just categorically bad. Because
if he keeps missing stuff, CJ, now we're talking, this is different. Right now, though, is where we're living. Yes. And you're right.
Exactly. And the thing is like you said, Addison hasn't shown his ability to mature yet. And that, again, it could kind of build and mount and whatever. But at this current moment, you just kind of go, hey, man, don't do that again. And you move on and you see what happens. And you just kind of go from there because he's too valuable. He's really, really good, as evidenced by the route he ran, the way he was able to get that game-winning touchdown pass. Justin Jefferson, by the way, had a really good game. And by the way, the wide receiver that had the best rapport with JJ McCarthy all training camp was Jordan Addison because Jefferson was hurt. So like that, and how different would it be if McCarthy had Addison to throw to in those first couple games? And, there's a lot of what ifs you could look at. So anyway, all of this is to say is that Jordan Addison's a really, really good wide receiver. And he's doing things that, by the way, I mean, Stephon Diggs was here, but post Diggs, there hasn't been a lot of wide receiver diva things that come with star wide receivers because Justin Jefferson's a unicorn in a lot of different ways. And I think sometimes we neglect the personality is also a unicorn in the sense of that dude is a superstar wide receiver with his head on straight, which almost never happens.
There's a lot that's going on, and maybe these are conversations for a different time, but I am interested in at least this one. Does some of this wide receiver stuff, this drama with Addison, all the injuries to everybody, including the quarterback and JJ McCarthy, do you think I guess it's a two-part question. I'm trying to put this together here as I go. I don't think Carson Wentz has done enough to keep the job. I think it's JJ McCarthy's as soon as he's healthy, whenever that is. I have no idea. People will play conspiracy theory on if he's ready or not, when he's ready. I'm not here for that. I think it's JJ McCarthy's job. But do you think with all of these distractions, all the injuries, all the Jordan Addison stuff, going over to Europe, do the Vikings go 1-1 with JJ McCarthy?
That's a good question. That's a good question because it depends. If you kind of assume they lose that Steelers game, like in the same fashion, basically it's, do you think that JJ McCarthy could have came in and beat the Cleveland Browns and
dealt with that offensive line and a center who's never played center and just
right.
You're the guy you have the best rapport with, not on the field for the first quarter. They're asking a lot of him anyway.
Right.
That's more.
And look, this might be, again, Carson Wentz coming in. Again, people talk about it. Can your backup quarterbacks just go 500? And even if Carson Wentz starts against Philadelphia and say loses, he still goes 2-2 in the 4 games he started. And you say, yeah, good job. And if he goes back to being the backup, you go, that's exactly what you paid Carson Wentz for. Every penny was worth it. Because let me put it to you this way. The Minnesota Vikings would probably have beaten Cincinnati, but would have lost both games had Sam Howell been the starting quarterback of this football team. So like, it's a little bit of that, but yeah, I mean, with JJ McCarthy, it's a tough needle to thread right now. Cause if the Vikings would have lost to the Browns, then you go, all right, they're 2-3 going into the bye. They got Philadelphia. They got these tough games coming up. It's a long shot to make the playoffs at this point. Like they have to have a winning record throughout. Just start JJ McCarthy and see what happens and see if he can catch fire and see what you got in him. And I still think that is the plan. I don't think Carson Wentz has done enough to take that starting job. But I also wonder, too, if the Vikings, not, soft benching, shadow benching, whatever you want to call it, maybe do they like say, hey, McCarthy is healthy, but we're just going to let him ease, like he's healthy enough to practice. We are going to ease him back in. It might be a phantom benching for like another week, for maybe like a week longer than it should have been to make sure he's fully healthy. But also it just might be to give him more time in practice to be that scout team quarterback. And teams talk about that all the time. Carson Wentz talked about that being the scout team quarterback in Kansas City and in Los Angeles, of like, you just get a chance to mess around a little bit and make throws against an NFL defense and figure out what works and what doesn't. And there's no pressure on you. Nobody's watching like outside. It's kind of some of that stuff. It just gives you time to work on rhythm and timing and stuff like that. But I think overall, JJ McCarthy, when he's healthy, needs to come back in and be the starting quarterback, because there's no point in messing around with Carson Wentz and going 500 on the season, basically missing the playoffs, and then you have no idea about JJ McCarthy.
Well, and all those are valid points, with the exception of the fact that Carson Wentz was the backup in Kansas City for Patrick Mahomes, who was the clear-cut starter on a team that had Super Bowl aspirations.
Right.
Now, I don't know if the Vikings have Super Bowl aspirations, but Kansas City had no inclination to figure out what they had in Carson Wentz.
Right.
The Vikings had no desire to figure out what they had in Daniel Jones. That's not what that was for a year ago.
Well, they might have in a way, because they did want him to come back. But I get your general.
You know what I'm saying? But like, it was not. Do they want him to come back to be the backup? Was basically going to be the thing.
They were not thinking he was going to be a franchise quarterback for them.
They need to figure out. They've pigeonholed themselves in a way where they have to know what JJ McCarthy is. They have to, because if you don't do it this year, you have to do it next year. And you can't keep putting this sort of thing off.
Right. And by the way, remember, the Vikings spent the most money in free agency last year, which would kind of mean you think you were going to compete. You came off a 14-win year, spent the most money in the offseason. You kind of thought that you'd be a Super Bowl contender the way that you spent money and the way you went after things. And if you started JJ McCarthy, you didn't bring back Sam Darnold. I know they wanted Daniel Jones back, but Jones left not because of money, but because he wanted a chance where he could start and kind of have it be his own. And you're not coming back if you're Daniel Jones with the first pick you throw. The whole crowd's going, JJ. But anyway, the point is, like, you could have, like, I wouldn't have done it. I still wouldn't have done it. Like, but you told Aaron Rodgers no. You told Sam Darnold no. You told Daniel, like, you whatever, because you wanted to give JJ that track. And you didn't really get a good backup until you got Carson Wentz at the last second. And then for him to play 2 games and the Vikings to panic and shadow bench him would be a very telling sign of, like, you thought he was ready. You started him 2 games. Now all of a sudden he's not ready. Like, what the heck? And so, like, it's just a very weird needle that Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings are going to have to thread, because at the same time, you did sign a bunch of veteran players who came here to compete for the playoffs and who came here to compete, and to tell them, sorry, guys, you got to waste this year because we got to figure out what we got in JJ, because the head coach still has to address the veteran players in the locker room who are going out there every week. So there's a lot of things at play here.
It makes me think it is the one thing that makes me think that it might be slow. It might be slower than we want.
Everybody wants to develop a quarterback until it's time to develop one.
But it is the thing that makes me think that JJ, they still believe he can do it, because they did go out of their way to sign some people. They didn't have to.
Right.
They didn't have to. They could have looked at some of these guys in the face, some important figures, be like, this is going to be a weird year. They didn't do that. And they are not in the business. NFL leadership is not in the business of lying to their players. It all backfires very quickly if you do that.
Right.
So I don't know. It's the last thing that makes me hope that, like, it might not be there right away. It might not be there at all this year, but but they're gonna go through the process, because next year's the important year.
Right. And some people go, oh, bench him against Philadelphia because the Eagles are good. But then if you do that, then it's a short week against they could be San Diego when they start winning games. The Chargers are coming up on a Thursday night football game on the road. You don't want to give a quarterback that. But then it's the Lions on the road. And then, so you're talking about another month of Carson Wentz. That doesn't do anybody any good. There's never a good time to throw somebody in. Take a look at the Giants, who threw in Jackson Dart against the Chargers, and they won. And then they also lost against the Saints. There is no good time to put him in. You just have to throw him in. He's got to get the reps. And if you remember, Jordan Love had 3 years on the bench. He came in the first half of his first season as a starter. He was awful. And then he had his team a drive away from going to the NFC Championship game that same season. You have to allow guys time to just figure it out. And the only way he can do that is getting out there.
We're probably overcomplicating this too, in the fact that he's the number 1 quarterback on the depth chart and his backup didn't steal it from him.
Right.
So, like, you could, all those other things I think we talked about are true, but what's also true is that he's the number 1 QB in the depth chart, and the backup, he didn't Tom Brady. Carson Wentz didn't Tom Brady Drew Bledsoe here.
He didn't Case Keenum his way into this thing.
That's not what happened. Not even a little bit. So,
Right, exactly. So there's he didn't Randall Cunningham his way into this job. He didn't, exactly. He didn't just show up. If Carson Wentz comes in and throws 400 yards and 3 touchdowns and you go, okay, well,
Whoa. Right.
Well, like we got to just this thing just has to kind of happen. It would have been like last year with Sam Darnold, where it would have been like, he starts lighting the world on fire. You're like, okay, well, we're just going to need to ride this until the wheels fall off. So anyway, there's your breakdown. Corey, let's wrap things up with the podcast today. I want to do something here because we both do a lot of play-by-play for the Superstation, for KWAD, for KNSP The Fan, and for some other stations as well in our Hubbard radio kind of apparatus. So I want to talk about a play I saw over the weekend. I saw this on social media. Vlad Guerrero Jr. hit a home run in the bottom of the first inning in game 1 of the ALDS against the Yankees on Saturday afternoon. And there was a Blue Jays fan who was up in arms about this was being a really bad call, he said. And I want to play you the call. And I just want to get your opinion if this is a good call or not. Can we do that?
Sure.
All right. So I'm going to pull up this video here from Twitter and just here's what it says. Tell me if you can't hear it.
Vlad Jr. on 2-1. It's a high fly ball to deep left field. Bellinger's going back, and it is gone. Vlad Guerrero Jr. homers in his first at-bat of the postseason.
And that's pretty much the clip. They said, what a bad call. Did you see anything wrong with that call?
Well, I have a question about it. This is television. That was a television clip you played. Yes.
Yes. From the Fox broadcast. It's Joe Davis, who, by the way, is like Fox's #1 baseball guy.
Okay. And it's not, this is not Toronto's like local TV.
No, this is the national broadcast.
This is the national broadcast. So there's a couple things I will say before I get into this. One is I've never done any TV play-by-play, and TV and radio play-by-play is a very, very different animal. Because you can see, turns out the differentiating factor here is that you can see what's happening on TV. So you need fewer words.
Right.
Radio just requires more. It just requires more depth of coverage because people can't see what's happening. So you need to describe what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that happens here in these games, and I've seen a lot of this, is people love their regional broadcasters.
Yes, of course.
People love them. Fans love their Corey Provis and Justin Morneau television calls.
Fans love Paul Allen.
Fans love Paul Allen. And oftentimes feel like these national guys don't know our guys like we know our guys. So there's already some animosity amongst fans anyway. This is the bottom of the first inning in what was a 0-0 game and ended up being a solo home run to give Toronto a 1-0 lead. I know it went on to be a boat race. And Vlad, I assume it's this game, later on, hit a much bigger, more significant home run in this game, correct?
Right. Yes.
This is, by my estimation, a perfect call.
Yeah. That's where I don't mean to dunk on the person who said it because they were a Blue Jays fan, obviously. So they wanted it to be, whoa, like this giant thing. And I get it. It's a first inning home run. It's game 1 of your postseason run. You expect there to be a little more juice, but it's like you said, it's a 1-0 go ahead home run in the bottom of the first inning in game 1 of a playoff series. It's just too early in the game to turn it up to 11. Now, if Vlad hit a grand slam, yes, there'd be a lot more energy because it'd be a 4-0 game after that. But it's a very solid bottom of the first inning call because the game, it just doesn't warrant getting that excited yet. Because again, this game went it for a boat race for the Blue Jays, but the Yankees could have very well won that game 13-3, and that home run becomes meaningless. You don't all of a sudden be like, oh my God, like you lose your mind over this home run. And then in the grand scheme of things, nothing happened. Like the home run was meaningless. And it's like, okay, well,
there were 1,000 solo home runs hit in the bottom of the first inning during this Major League Baseball season.
Right.
That's not that special, but it's not that special of a hit. You may remember the Twins jumping up on the Yankees 3-0 in the first inning not that many years ago. And then
the AL wildcard game, of course.
And losing that game. You may remember
lost the lead that very next inning.
The very next inning. That's how insignificant of a home run this is. So did this guy go on, like, did he give complaints or just needed to air it out a little bit?
I think he just aired it out. He was just like, what a bad call. Yeah, and I think just because it wasn't excited enough, which I get it if you're a fan, but also from somebody who does, again, not to the level of Joe Davis. That guy gets to call the World Series this year. So not to say we're on the same level, but as people who do play-by-play, this is like, it's clearly just a good call.
Well, and this is, I called it I said it's a perfect call. And if you base that on, we're highlight searching, we're seeking out highlights in our calls, then it's not a perfect call. But this is the bottom of the first in a 0-0 game, and it's a solo home run to make it 1-0. Like, the scenario also matters. A perfect call for ball 4 in the 4th inning, you can still make a perfect call for that. There's a perfect call for every scenario. It's not, you don't have to make a highlight, and there's ball 4, and the Blue Jays get their 6th man on base in this game. Like, that's ridiculous. That is an imperfect call.
Right.
That's not what we're searching for. Exactly. The perfect call also begets the situation. And so those two things need to go hand in hand. That call there is just as good as Joe Buck saying, Keenum, Diggs, sideline. Yes. That's a perfect call because that situation required that sort of brevity. So did this one. There's a perfect amount of brevity for this scenario, and Blue Jays fans are dorks.
Well, it's the same thing of like earlier in that playoff game for the Vikings in the Minneapolis Miracle game. They scored a touchdown, and if the Vikings getting a touchdown to go up 7-0, Joe Buck had that same level of mind-bogglingness. It was a touchdown in a playoff game. That's huge. But you can't lose your marbles on every good play. Otherwise, nobody will respect, take seriously, enjoy the calls that come at the end in the big moments. If you're at 11 the whole game, you don't appreciate the 11. Eventually, the 11 becomes a 6. Kind of thing.
You boy who cried wolf to yourself.
Right. If that would have been a walk-off home run in a 1-0 ball game, I guarantee you there would have been a much different call.
Find me the clip of the grand slam. I bet that one sounds different.
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just crazy. I don't have
time to find the other clip because, Corey, there was one more thing I wanted to talk about, and this is from the Dolphins and Panthers game. Did you hear about this?
No.
Okay, so I don't know the broadcaster's name, but he does the Charlotte Hornets TV, like for basketball, for their NBA broadcast. And he had the opportunity to step in and be the play-by-play guy for this Fox game in Carolina. And he brought some energy. So I'm going to pull up a clip here and make sure that this is all ready to go. And we'll just kind of touch on this quickly just because we're kind of pressed for time here. But I do want to find kind of one of the big plays at the end of the game for the Miami Dolphins. And let me see if I can kind of find the right thing here that we get set up for the play and dial it up. And I get an ad thrown at me in the middle because the NFL has 50 ads in their YouTube videos. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to pull up this video quickly and we will go from there. So here we go. Let's see what we got here.
It's up at the top of the screen right there.
Play action. Tungo Bailoa has Waddle. He's open. Touchdown. Well, that was easy.
But I don't know if he expects help over the top or if it was that injury earlier. He can't.
Panthers down by 4. Closing into the 2-minute timeout. Bryce Young. Got his man! Touchdown! Mitchell Evans! And the Panthers take the lead.
All right. We don't have a ton of time here, but this is another thing. So flipping to the other end, I don't think he did. I think this broadcast was fun but do you think that there's a level of he was at 11 too much, or do you feel like those calls were good?
Those calls were great because they happened. That one happened with under 2 minutes to play and for a go-ahead score, and the previous Miami score happened with under 4 minutes to play
and both
to give them the lead. I don't know if you know, the scoring's kind of a premium in the league. First of all, it's his first NFL game. He's allowed to be excited. Secondly, a team took a lead late that they shouldn't lose, and then the home team that he's there to call took the lead back. Did they end up going? Did they win that game? Was that the winning score? What else do you need out of a guy? No, great job by him also.
Yeah, exactly. The situation warrants different things. So this is just our soapbox because this is just fun to break down play-by-play stuff and things like that in situations. So
I listen to other people's play-by-play all the time. Like, it's a thing now I pay attention to on TV when I listen to games, whatever. And this is the underlying message that I always come out with. I suck. These guys, if you're watching them on TV,
they're good. They're so good.
Every single play-by-play guy you're watching on TV is
excellent.
Primo. Doesn't matter if you're watching a college football game at 7 a.m. on a Saturday. If you're watching Maction, if you're watching Hawaii play at 11:30 at night, these play-by-play guys are really good.
They're really, really good. There's a lot of good ones. And yeah, the amount of times I'll listen to a game, especially during basketball season, like Michael Grady with the Timberwolves, me and my wife I'll be watching the game. My wife will be doing something in the house and I'll hear him say something and I'll just jokingly look at her and be like, write that down. I need to use that in my next game. That's such a good line. Or just, he'll have a very good descriptor or just like just a different adjective to throw in there. And I'm like, oh, like, I didn't even think of that. Like, that should be something I should not say it all the time, but like, that should just be something to add in.
Add it to the Rolodex, yeah.
Right, exactly. So, all right, this has been Play-by-Play Talk on the Morning Sports Desk, powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. Want to once again thank Staples-Motley Activities Director Paige Ahrendt for joining the show, and we'll hope to talk with her come the winter time. See ya.
Powered by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Follow the Morning Sports Desk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And watch every show on YouTube.